It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Hello and welcome to Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, here with my best bud, Corey Knudsen.
Hasta lasagna, don't get any on you.
I was really hoping they'd bring that back in Final
So
Reckoning. Thanks for sitting down with us as we get ready to crack some cold ones, which we already have done, and talk about some movies that we saw, especially this past week. We'll also be looking at what films are on the horizon in terms of new releases, a little breakdown of some physical media roundup and what movies will be coming to Blu-ray and 4K this upcoming Tuesday, as well as the most recent, latest notable developments in the world of movies. But first, Corey, how have you been? Second, what are we drinking today?
Wolves are not bad.
No.
Last week we were pretty high on them. We were like Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, baby.
Yeah.
How
We
much,
also got bounced in the Western Conference
how much
Finals.
a week can change that down 2-0 to the Thunder?
Yeah.
That's not fun. That's not cool.
If we go down 3-0, we're not going to win one. We might get swept if we go down 3-0.
We have to win both at home now.
Yeah.
Like
This is our
we
time
can't
to
go
clean
back.
up. Yeah, it's going to be bad.
So it's tough. Minnesota sports, dude, awful.
It's never satisfying.
No.
You can have just the highest highs in a season
Last
and
week,
then
let's go.
ride the high, and then the next
Yeah.
week you get blown out by the Eagles after you just do the Minneapolis Miracle. Like, just stuff
Dog
like
shit.
that happens in every sport we have. Minnesota Wild are going to get bounced in the first round of playoffs. They'll do everything to just make it to the playoffs and then leave right away.
Yep. It's a circle of life.
Yeah, it's a circle of depression is what it is. It
Absolutely.
sucks.
That's why we have to pick different teams for some sports.
Yeah, that's why I like the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm a Patriots guy. I like the Heat.
Heat, I love, yeah.
Yeah.
At least when Wade was still around.
Yeah, so we're forced to do that because of where we live.
Yeah.
But what we're drinking today, we've got, it's called Bloom, a juicy pale ale out of Insight Brewing. Pretty cool can. I like the rocky type
yeah.
flower formation there. It's pretty sweet.
Really aesthetically pleasing. It almost looks like AI generated the rock that's on it.
Yeah.
But I really dig Insight's beer and also just their marketing, their the way that they're like labeling and how everything looks. It's just very clean and it's
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing.
Tastes great.
Yeah, it's good
Love
beer. Well, it was Mission Impossible week, both with Final Reckoning coming out and also us doing a little bit of a rewatch. I didn't commit fully to a full rewatch of the franchise as you did, but I did hit some notable ones that I haven't seen in a while or some that are nostalgic or special to me. But we will discuss a little bit on just our general thoughts on this franchise before really diving into some discussion on Final Reckoning. And then we'll eventually rank our favorite to least favorite of the Mission Impossible franchise, which we all, I feel like, know what the weakest link is. But
Pretty
like,
tough for
It's
the other ones,
hard
though.
for a lot of them because they're all really good. It still is, to me, the most consistent action film franchise that we've had.
Yeah.
Maybe John Wick's giving it a run for its money. We'll see with Ballerina. But Corey, what all did you watch this week? What are some of your thoughts on the ones that you watch? Are there any that are like... Also, what was the Mission Impossible movie that you started with? Because I didn't watch the first one. That
Was
was
it my rewatch this week? Or
No, like
in
what was
general?
the first one you ever saw?
So yeah, a little bit of background. I remember my dad talking to me when I was like probably 10 or 11. He's like, "You ever seen Mission Impossible?" I'm like, "No, never heard of it. Don't know what it is." So I actually started out watching a few episodes of the TV show. I forget like what years that came out, but very old school spy. But that's where like the classic theme comes from.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. I'm like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like this is a fun little like old show." And then he's like, "Yeah, there's at the time there was the 4 movies out." So he's like, "Okay, we're gonna sit down and watch all 4 of them," and we watch them in order, 1 through 4.
okay.
And I remember just falling in love with this franchise, and like each of those are so different too. We'll get into that in a second, but starting out with that first movie, Brian De Palma came in, and he's just like, I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves for being such a great director.
Yeah.
And like he kind of came in at the same time as like Kubrick and Spielberg and Scorsese.
Lucas.
Yeah, so it was kind of that like 70s Renaissance or whatever. But this first movie is just espionage at its finest. I absolutely love the plot to this movie. It is a complex plot, but not a overly complicated one.
Yeah, it's not convoluted.
Which I feel like some of the later ones
talk
kind of
about,
fall into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But this one has enough where like you need to pay attention to kind of everything that's going on, and like every line matters, every action that a character takes matters. So I love the movie. It's got a great cast. Emilio Estevez is in there, which is just always fun to see.
Hasta lasagna, don't get any on you.
What a great line.
Yeah, what a wild. That's the gum when he like folds
Yeah.
it. And he's like, all right, red touches green, throw it, fucking. And it's like, all right.
It's so good. John Voight is just a great presence in the movie. And so great supporting cast all around. You get the first appearance of Ving Rhames as Luther, who's in every movie, and I love that. I love when the character's in every movie.
One of the few mainstays of the franchise in terms of like Ethan Hunt and his team. We don't really get a whole lot of that, and especially in like 3, 4, 5, you're still kind of refiguring out like, all right, who are our staples of this team? 3 kind of don't really get too much in terms of what that team's personality is. You just have Ethan Hunt and Maggie Q is here and this Australian guy. And it's like, all right, Luther's still here, but like we don't really have a really set concrete team that has like, all right, this is this person's speciality. This is this person's like distinctive like expertise in something. It's just, all right, well, this is the new team for this movie. And it changes a little bit on and on, but having Luther and then Simon Pegg once you get into Mission Impossible 3 and then him carrying out throughout the rest of the franchise and then Ferguson and stuff. Do you have a favorite supporting character, at least within the team dynamic, aside from Ethan Hunt?
Of all the movies, or in this?
I think throughout.
Ooh, I love Rebecca Ferguson. Her dynamic with Ethan being just kind of like a rogue agent that he's always crossing paths with. They're not always on the same side, so that keeps it interesting. But they also kind of have not like a romantic relationship, but it's like a very sweet relationship, where it's just like in a different world. They'd be together maybe, but because they're both trying to kill each other just all the time, or like drowning each other or whatever. I love her a lot. But I mean, Luther he's great. I remember I was watching Chris Stuckman's review of the original movie after I rewatched it, and kind of pointed out something that I didn't really think of, where he was like, the hacker guy, the guy in the chair, typically isn't like this bigger guy. Like it's typically a nerdier dude with glasses and he's kind of scrawny. But like Ving Rhames coming in there being like, I can hack into anything. I can do anything you need with wires. I can defuse a bomb. I can do whatever. So yeah, I love this first movie. I think it holds up incredibly well.
Oh yeah.
Really like the only part that wavers a little bit is the train sequence at the end. There's
some
CGI. But it's like it's 1996 and it still looks as good as like some other movies. So. I love that first one. I know that's high up in your ranking. We'll get to that later.
It's high up in my ranking. It's the second Mission Impossible movie I ever saw. I remember like 2011. That was like a big year for movies. That's when I was like going to the movie theaters every week, watching fucking Green Lantern and Smurfs. But also in that year we have the great Ghost Protocol, and that was my entry point into the franchise, which I feel like there was a good chunk of time where you can kind of start with any movie, or you get something kind of distinct and different from, at least in those first 4 films, something different from the others, but also still spy work, great action, good stunts, good characters. But Ghost Protocol really blew me away. And after that, and just the amazing stunt work with the Burj Khalifa Hotel and just all that stuff, and him just dangling outside that building, I was like, fuck, this is awesome. So then I was like, all right, I need to go back and watch all these. So then I went back, watched them in order 1, 2, and 3, and Mission Impossible 1 is so wildly different, which, like, again, all 4 of those first ones are kind of have a distinct style, but the first one is truly like paranoid espionage, like a spy movie with action elements, whereas most of these other films kind of delve more into like the action side, like gadgets and stuff, whereas that first one, it's just like Dutch angles up the ass, and just people sweating and just beady eyes and Kittredge. I'm like, okay, I love the first one. It has like stood the test of time for me. I'm a big Brian De Palma fan as well, so I've always had a special place in my heart for that movie.
It's surprising how little action there is in that movie.
Yeah.
Which rewatching, like, it has the Great Langley heist.
Yeah.
Which it's not really like action, just more of like, heist.
Just the suspense of it.
Yeah. And then you have like the opening sequence of them all getting betrayed.
Yeah.
We'll find out later.
Fucking cooked.
Yeah. That's a little bit different than Mission Impossible 2, which came out in 2000, the year we were born. And,
okay. That's weird.
Yeah. And we had John Woo.
That movie's 25 years old.
Isn't that crazy?
And that's when Tom Cruise, long hair, fucking rock climbing.
That's a fun, like, tracking of this franchise is his hairline, because it's short, long. The last few have kind of been like a long, short.
Yeah. You in the middle?
Yeah, sometimes it's floppy, I don't know. Yeah. But in 2, it's long. Probably the longest we've had.
That
Ghost Protocol. Yeah. But I'd only seen Mission Impossible 2 the one other time when I initially watched it. And so I was actually kind of excited to just check it out again. And, like you mentioned before, it is most people's least favorite in the franchise.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason for that is that it doesn't feel like a Mission Impossible movie, especially coming off that first one. It feels more of like a James Bond movie, a little bit, where he's this womanizer with like Tandy Newton, and he's kind of more like suave, and you got the slow-mo action with the doves, and you got all this crazy John Woo stuff, which in the franchise, it's like, this doesn't work that well. The villain's kind of forgettable. It's like the Chimera like virus. You're like, whatever. But on its own, just kind of watching it, I'm like, this is a fine enough action movie. There's a good motorcycle chase, and like the end when the two motorcycles just going at each other and they leap off. I'm like, fuck, that's cool.
Tackle each other.
Like, that's cool. I don't even like. You know what? Fuck it. That's cool.
No, I'm not shitting on it. It's a better John Woo movie than it is a good Mission Impossible movie.
Yep.
But you do get a lot of like the fun in it, and it's just like you also get Anthony Hopkins in it and Tandy Newton, so it's like
Brendan Gleeson's in it.
Oh my god, yeah, he is.
He's the runs like the biosite, the medical thing or whatever.
Yeah, it's got a relatively good cast. It's definitely the Mission Impossible movie I've watched and seen the least. Because spoiler alert, it is my least favorite of the franchise, but it's still like not bad. Like I don't hate that movie, and I don't think there's a lot of people that really like outright hate Mission Impossible 2. It's just so like polar opposite based off of what the first one was. Again, a paranoid spy thriller. And now it's just like, all right, action movie with doves, jumping off motorcycles. That's if you want to call it a stunt, but the knife to his eye.
It's incredible.
Still is fucking terrifying. And like learning more about like how they did that, I'm just like, I still would not trust whatever cable wire, whatever system you have to keep this knife from plunging.
I'm trusting Dougray Scott to not plunge that into my eye.
Yeah, the guy who should have been Wolverine.
Yeah, that's also crazy if he wouldn't have. Or I think it was reshoots on this movie, or it got extended.
Pushed him out of the running for Wolverine, and then it went to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. And this movie is capped off beautifully by a Limp Bizkit song called "Take a Look Around." So, like, what
very 2000.
What defines 2000 more than Limp Bizkit playing at the end of Mission Impossible 2?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Very true.
But you know, a fun rewatch. I don't even hate that movie. It's kind of fun. But Mission Impossible 3,
slept on.
I love this movie so much. It's always been one of my favorites of the franchise. Mainly Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain. He's the most memorable and clearly the best villain of the franchise.
Yeah. He's terrifying.
He's like, the opening sequence of this movie is one of my favorite opening scenes in any movie ever. Like, not just this franchise. Like, it's such just throwing you into the action of Ethan tied up and him just, Philip Seymour Hoffman kind of yelling, "Where's the rabbit's foot?" And you're there with Ethan. You're like, "What the fuck's going on?" And like you find out later, obviously, how we get up to that point. But he's just coming down. He's like, "Where's the rabbit's foot?" Ethan's like, "I don't know. It's in Paris." He's like, "No, it's not 5."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm gonna get to 10 and I'm gonna kill Julia." It's threatening, and you also just see like Tom Cruise. I think this is his best performance as Ethan Hunt in this movie.
In this entire 100%.
And like even just in that scene alone, like
he's just crumbling.
Yeah.
Like you can see him just fucking drowning in like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
What is my angle? How do I negotiate with this man?
Because he's
Who
like,
just is ahead of me on all of this.
because he's trying at first, he's confused because he's like, okay, you learn like he just got him the rabbit's foot, and then he's like, I just gave it to you. But then he's like trying to plead for his wife's life, but then he's trying to lie to him and tell him it's in Paris, and then he starts screaming at him. Philip Seymour Hoffman screams back, and he's just defeated. And then it's like just a great acting masterclass in a very short sequence. So that's so good. And then the scene on the plane with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then he hangs him out of the fucking thing too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great.
That, and you get the team genuinely terrified of what Ethan Hunt might do.
Yeah.
Because of his wife is basically on the line because Philip Seymour Hoffman. I forget what's the villain's name?
Owen Davian.
Owen Davian. Yep. So like, the fact that his wife's on the line and Philip Seymour Hoffman knows about Julia, and he's like, I'm gonna hurt her. Like, the line that we were talking about before we even started recording of like, do you have a girlfriend, a wife? I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna make her bleed. I'm gonna make her scream. It's just so intimidating.
Perfect.
So
Ethan's like trying to ask him about the rabbits. Yeah. It's like, hey, what's the rabbits? He's like, I have a wife, girlfriend.
Just not hearing anything.
It's so intimidating. But this movie absolutely moves. You get the opening. You get the introductory with like him and Michelle Monaghan together, which I've always really loved. I love that. Even after just like 2 movies that we've seen, he's like, I want a normal life. Like I want to just have a wife and like settle down, be the family man working for the like traffic department or whatever he
Yeah,
is.
Department of Transportation.
Yeah, and so it's just really nice opening, but then you just, from the extraction of Kerry Russell's character, that sequence, to the end of the movie, is just nonstop go.
That, and I don't think there's a death in this franchise that like shakes me and like terrifies me as much as Kerry Russell's, because they're like they're on the edge of saving her and they're about to put the defibrillator on her and then just cracks. And the first time I saw that I was like, like it was terrifying. And I've seen this movie twice before this past week, and then with kind of the rewatches, I knew I wanted to watch this one for sure because I know how much you really like this one, and I had always liked it in the past when I had seen it. But I was like, yeah, I'll sit down. I haven't seen it in a while. Fuck, is this one of the better ones in the franchise? And it is definitely slept on. Just because you don't have like the huge stunts of the later films and some of the memorable stunts of like the Langley Heist in the first one. You do have great stunt work, but honestly, the personal aspect to more of Ethan Hunt in his everyday life and trying to escape IMF and just like, yeah, I want a normal, quiet life. I want to get married. I want like having that downtime with him, whereas you don't really get that in any other film in this franchise. Also, yeah, when we talk about Philip Seymour Hoffman, easily, I think, being the best villain in this franchise and just being genuinely terrifying. It starts off with a bang, the best opening scene, I think, of this franchise. And it is exceptionally well done, like paced. It is just so boom, go. And I remember like thinking back, I was like, I don't know if I ever really cared much about the romantic like dynamic between him and Michelle Monaghan, like Tom Cruise and Michelle Monaghan, and I don't know if I really ever needed to see Ethan Hunt get married. And after rewatching it this past week, I was like, oh, this like hits, especially with how they kind of incorporate her in like in Ghost Protocol. It's like, oh, well, she's dead. No, she's not. She's just hiding out. And then you see her again in Fallout. And I think that they have a really interesting way of kind of working that throughout the remainder of the films. But yeah, and the action in this film, you get to see Ethan Hunt run and gun. Like when he's saving Kerry Russell and he's just blasting fools, it's like you don't really get a whole lot of that, especially in the later films. It's just like the spy work, the big stunt, him trying to figure something out, crack something, do it in time. This, it's just like, I'm shooting people down. I'm like, okay, this is like, it's an awesome action movie. So I really do love this movie.
Yeah, the bridge sequence here.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of like the bigger stunt, I guess, where he like slams against the car, which like, in comparison to some ones we have now, it's not as big, but still, it's like, that's a great sequence, and it's just all in camera too. J.J. Abrams, I think, directed the hell out of this movie. This is his first movie after working on Lost, which is one of my favorite shows.
On Alias.
I've always loved J.J. Abrams, and I think he gets a bad rap for both Star Wars and Star Trek. He came into both, and I like all 4 movies he did in those franchises.
Yeah, me too.
I know a lot of people, most people would probably disagree with that.
At least they'd probably disagree with at least one of the 4 of the Star Wars or Star Trek movies that he made.
Yeah, but he's got, I don't know, when he came in as like a director, it felt like he was going to be the next Spielberg.
Yeah.
He just had that same, especially with like Super 8 and that same kind of energy. Like, I think he's very underrated, and he produces a lot of things, but I hope he comes back to directing because I think this movie's genuinely great. And I did want to shout out one line from this movie that you and I both talked about.
Oh yeah, I texted it to you as soon as it came up because you get Lawrence Fishburne in this movie.
Lawrence Fishburne is in this movie. He's I think the secretary for the IMF.
Yep.
And he says something to the extent of like, I shit you not, I will bleed on the flag to make sure the stripes stay red. And I had to pause the movie. I was like, damn.
I was already texting you at this point, I think, that I was watching Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah.
And then that line happened, I immediately sent it to you, and you're like, I wrote that line.
Yeah.
That
It's
is
a
so
bar.
good. That and you get Billy Crudup in this movie. Like, it's a good cast supporting Ethan
Simon
Hunt.
Pegg, first time we
Big
introduced Benji
introduction,
in there. He's kind of helping from behind the scenes. So this one introduced a lot of good stuff. I think it's the first movie you see him making a mask, too.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of setting up a lot of the things we'll see in later movies.
That and like the transitions of getting him into that mask to make him look like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I thought that was really convincingly like done in camera and well done. So I was like, wow, like this like is making some of the more outlandish aspects of like the spy work that they do a little bit more realistic to me, and I can kind of buy into it a little bit more. Also, I love the scene of Philip Seymour Hoffman, like after he gets the wine spilled out on him, and then that's when they do like the switch of, okay, Tom Cruise, you're gonna stand in this place, we're gonna take him out. And then his bodyguard is like coming in, but they don't have the voice modulator like fully formed yet. And the bodyguard's like, "You good?" And he's like, and he's just coughing, and I'm like, I love this. Oh, I think it is one of definitely the best of the franchise. My only like strong like negative, actually it's not even that hard of a negative, it's just the lack of kind of personality of the supporting cast of the IMF team that he has around him, like Maggie Q. I don't even know the actor, that's the Australian guy, but like you do get Simon Pegg, but you don't really have the most amount of personality within the team outside of Simon Pegg's introduction, who develops more in the latter films, and then having Ving Rhames in there as well. So I really dig this movie.
Yeah, it'll never fail to amaze me of like, especially in this movie, Philip Seymour Hoffman acting as Ethan Hunt, acting as Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Like, just like the layers to that, and like that happens in other movies too, of like they're all acting like the person, acting like the person. I love that. Moving into Ghost Protocol, which, like you mentioned, 2011, that came out, and everybody was like, see this on an IMAX screen, this is great. This one for me is also very nostalgic, just like you said, that time of life where we were both really getting into movies, and I remember watching it and being like, damn, that's like him out there. Like, that's, you can just like tell a difference, even if you don't like know fully of like the full background. You're like, oh, that's like his face there, like that's him doing this stunt. And I mean, this movie, I think even leading up to that, I love the prison escape at the beginning of the movie. That's really fun.
And he's just like, Benji, open this door. Like, he's just pointing, like, open this door.
He's just waiting at the camera. He's just like, come on. He's like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can
Benji's like, no, we don't need to go there. Where are we going? Why are we rescuing this random Russian guy? Sergey, or that calls him Sergey the entire movie.
Yeah. So like that's a great sequence. I love the Kremlin scene where they have the screen going down the hallway there, and then like Benji's face is in it.
I just like Benji's like pre-show jitters as he's like, I've never been out in the field, and he's like, I'm talking too much. I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I'm getting too much in my head. I'm sorry. This is my first time.
Yeah.
Benji, I fucking no. Shut up.
Yeah. It's like great. I'm so glad they kept Simon Pegg back.
Yeah.
He's such a great presence in all these movies. And then you have leading up to the Burj Khalifa, everything in Dubai. I think people single out the sequence where he's outside of the building, which is obviously fucking awesome. I always get annoyed when he throws the one glove away. I'm like, what does it hurt to keep it on?
Yeah, like, it's
if
not
it
even
doesn't work, fine.
Yeah. And then he finds it as he goes up. He finds it stuck to the building. So it's like,
you
it's
should've
clearly
kept it.
like still kind of
Even if it's iffy, like just keep it on.
You have one for sure, and you can just kind of use this as like a backup.
But that was like the birth of the big stunts of this franchise, which is so much fun. But even after that, you have some great like hand-to-hand combat in the hotel, even just like setting up the two different floors and trying to plan this meeting with Leah Seydoux and getting like everything coordinated and changing the room numbers. It's just great Mission Impossible stuff.
Yeah. You get the introduction of Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
And then you get to lead into that meeting. Jeremy Renner out. He's like, sorry, we have two people coming, and we need to convince them that they're in the same meeting with each other, and that this conversation happened, even though they're not meeting each other. Like, we need to try and trick them both into thinking that they've met, even though we're just fooling them both. And I'm like, I love the setup of this, and also seeing their tech fail and just shit not work. Like the red you're dead, blue is glue, like in it, one of the gloves malfunctioning, and like the mask thing fucking up, so them having to try and like, all right, well, we're gonna have to improvise and just, this is how we're gonna do it. Oh, well, we can't get into this room, so you're gonna have to access it from the outside. Like, just random stuff. Everything goes wrong at one aspect or another in this film. And I think that they do a good job of kind of doing that throughout the rest of the franchise, of like, they will add on an extra layer to stunts or big suspenseful scenes of like, hey, you have a ticking clock, but also it's like, there's a tornado. Not that this happens in the franchise, but like, the halo jump, you're doing this big halo jump, it's storming out. Like, there's always something else going on aside from just like, we're against the clock, we're doing this like unwinnable feat. Like, there's always something added on to stunts to make them just extra, just anxiety inducing.
That's kind of with this one too. You get the sandstorm in Dubai, and even like running after the sequence where he's like chasing Michael Nyqvist and he's just going through the sandstorm like in the car. Like, that's an incredible scene, and I don't think people like talk about it enough. And again, Brad Bird, another director I would love to see do more work, because obviously he's done a lot of animated work with Incredibles and Iron Giant, and then this movie. But like,
I never saw Tomorrowland.
I didn't either. Heard it was bad.
I also heard it was
Someday-
bad, so I just didn't go to it.
The next Brad Bird movie that comes out, I'll probably rewatch it.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. There's a line early on that Jeremy Renner has. He's like a
What is he? He's not a journalist. He's
an analyst or
Analyst,
something.
that's
Yeah,
what
he's
it
an
is,
analyst there. And you get Tom Wilkinson also as the secretary
Briefly,
for a
yeah.
second. Yeah.
Briefly.
But there's a scene where like Ethan and I feel like I'm interchanging the actors' names and the
With
characters.
the character, that's, yeah.
Tom Cruise and Jeremy Renner. They're like underwater in this car that crashed, and then they like put a flare.
Yes.
And then they swim away and they get away, and they're just walking through to like this safe house. And Jeremy Renner is just like, why did that work?
yeah.
He's like, what? Like, how did, like, why did you know that they were going to shoot at that? He's like, because if I was up there, like, and you see something moving, you're going to shoot at it.
Yeah, he's like, I gave him a target.
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't think that they'd think? He's like, they're shooting. They're not rogue scholars.
Yeah.
They're not thinking.
It's just a great little moment of just like the difference between the different fields within the IMF, which I really enjoyed. I think where this movie falls a little bit for me, it like is after that Dubai sequence. It slows down a good chunk, and you get this like party scene with the Indian like kind of philanthropist or
Yeah,
whatever he is.
yeah.
And I'm just like not as interested there. I think the finale's fun. I like the car parking garage is
vending
cool.
machine.
And there's like you got that ticking clock of the bomb going off, and I enjoy all that. I think it's still very good, but I think the movie just peaks a little bit early and never quite recaptures that.
I love the mission accomplished. He's just such bullshit.
It's it's a great movie though. I mean, it really kind of kicked off this new wave of Mission Impossible movies, which we got next with Rogue Nation, which was just an insane like theater experience for me. Like I remember going to watch that movie and I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome.
Nonstop.
And I mean, the scene that you really see the most is in the trailers, at least when it was coming out, was the plane sequence, which I feel like gets slept on a little bit. That's crazy. He's hanging off the fucking side of a plane.
It's an awesome stunt, and it's so perfect that they put it at the front of the movie.
Yep.
One of my biggest gripes with Dead Reckoning Part 1 is that you saw that motorcycle cliff jump so many times before you saw it in the movie, and the movie builds up to it to a degree where it's like, I already know what happens. I know how it already kind of looks. Like, you're just waiting for it to happen. And going into Rogue Nation, you have that, him clinging to the side of the airplane, and you're like, oh wow, I can't wait to see how they incorporate it. And it's the first 5 minutes of the movie. And it's just like, damn, if that's what they're willing to show us in the trailer and right away, what the fuck else do we have? And we have an amazing car chase, motorcycle chase, underwater sequence where he's holding his breath for an extended period of time, him and Rebecca Ferguson. There's some awesome stunts in Rogue Nation.
Yeah, the underwater sequence especially is one of my favorite stunts in the franchise. I think just like the look of that room, this like circle and all these different files that he has to get. And I love just like the armband that has like the oxygen meter, like a video game. Almost. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, cool.
It's like he probably can tell that he's like, fuck, I'm gonna die.
I can't breathe
Like,
right
he doesn't need to see this.
Yeah.
That's for us. It's
But
fine.
like even rewatching, I've seen this movie so many times, but rewatching it, I'm just like, I'm nervous watching that scene. I'm like, fuck, like he's got to get out of there. Which then leads into that awesome car chase and motorcycle chase where Ethan's kind of out of it because he was just unconscious, and he's just kind of like,
He has heart attacks.
so, whoa, what are we doing here? And then Ilsa takes the fucking thing and gets away, and he's like, oh, we gotta go.
Yeah.
But him on the motorcycle, just like sideways, going around the
His
turns.
knees like an inch off the ground, if that.
Coolest motherfucker on the
Oh
planet.
my god.
It's so great. And we also got the introduction of Sean Harris as Solomon Lane, the leader of the Syndicate. Yeah, I was going to say the Apostles. That's the next movie. But the Syndicate. And I think Sean Harris is probably one of the better villains. The second, third best maybe? He's up there.
I would say, like, him and his inclusion, especially in Fallout after Rogue Nation, I really just like that they were able to. All right, well, let's try and give him a little bit more of a cohesive villain, a more consistent villain. Let's give him a head of a villain agency, basically, that they're going up against consistently. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm pretty sure the Syndicate is like something a little bit more well established within the TV show too. So it's like, oh, they're bringing that into the movies, sweet.
Yeah.
For the first time in the 5 movies that we've had. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think he's a really good villain. And Rebecca Ferguson, we get her introduced in this movie, which, like I said, is my favorite supporting kind of team member.
Yeah. What is the theater sequence?
Oh, the opera scene.
Opera
Yeah, we
scene.
didn't even talk about
Oh
that.
my
The
God.
opera scene is so good. There's so many. The best sequences are the ones that have all these moving parts where Benji's trying to do something.
Yeah.
And he just pulls out a magazine that turns into a computer. I'm like, that's awesome. Okay.
We're not talking about that?
Sure. Plugs a USB into a Time magazine. I'm like, okay. But like you get the intro of Rebecca Ferguson there, and like she's got just the cool like gun that's the instrument, whatever it is, like the clarinet or whatever. And I love her just throughout the few movies that she's in as this kind of like gray area, like we mentioned. She's like not always on the same side. Sometimes it works for her to work with Ethan, sometimes not. She's trying to fucking shoot him.
More of an independent contractor.
Yeah.
Shout out Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, it's incredible. But she was such a nice addition into this franchise, and I loved seeing her pop up in any movie. But this movie, I think, this and Fallout, which we'll talk about in a second, really, with Christopher McQuarrie coming in, really found a perfect tone of the incredible stunts, pretty constant action, but also you have the sequences in between the action that set up things well. Again, not like overly complicated, but still like a dense plot. And then you also get like some fun like humor in there too, which I think some of the later movies forgot a little bit.
Yeah,
Like-
especially Final Reckoning, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about later.
For sure. Like this one, like Benji is kind of the comic relief there, but even Ethan has some good lines too. So it's just really blended all of that together in this one, and then in Fallout 2, which I think you and I saw together, like the opening weekend in Monticello on the monster screen.
Yep.
We saw that. I remember both being so excited for it, and we were fucking blown away.
Yeah, I have this weird thing, and this rang true even for like the hype and the build up to Final Reckoning. I'm never like the most excited for these movies, even though I love this franchise. I'm like, I'll know it's coming out this year. Okay, a month out. Yeah, I don't really care. 2 weeks out, I don't really care. Week of, I'm like, I am pumped. It just hits me in a wave, and I'm like, I need to watch these movies again. I'm so excited to see the new one. And I just really dive into the franchise again every time that there's a new one coming out. Like that week is Mission Impossible week, which is this week because Final Reckoning. But oh my god, Fallout, fucking
An action classic.
action classic.
Like,
One of the
already.
best action movies, probably since Mad Max Fury Road, like of the 21st century. Like it's just awesome. Perfect stunt work, awesome characters. Fallout is the one that I think gets the closest in terms of rivaling the villains, or the villain in Mission Impossible 3 with Philip Seymour Hoffman. This film where you have Sean Harris coming back, also the Apostles and Henry Cavill. And
Henry Cavill. Yeah, him loading his fucking arms and
Unreal.
that bathroom fight is so awesome, and just I will always remember one of my favorite shots in this franchise, and it's just during that bathroom fight when they just sling him through the mirror, and I'm like, oh,
It's great
It's
'cause
the way
like,
he just
Tom
slaps
Cruise is
through.
like kind of doing his like body shots, doing his thing. And Henry Cavill just grabs
He's
him
like, get out.
through the other side. Henry Cavill is awesome in this movie. And this one too, you get some great people introduced. Angela Bassett comes in, and you get Vanessa Kirby in this movie too, and who's just the most attractive woman I've ever seen in my life. And I love that they kind of tie in her being related to Max. I think she's her daughter.
Yeah.
Which I love that from the first movie. Like that makes sense. Kind of another like broker, courier type person.
Yeah.
So I think she adds a great element to the movie. And you get, Rebecca Ferguson and Ving Rhames. This is kind of like the biggest team up movie. I feel like you get the assembling of kind of everybody, and there's so many memorable sequences from this movie. The Halo jump is incredible. Like that, even watching it on Blu-ray when it changes aspect ratios and goes up to the IMAX. As soon as they're gonna jump out of the plane,
You're like, oh,
it's like,
God,
oh, this is
it's
gonna
coming.
hit right now,
It's
dude.
coming.
And just the lightning going off in the background, like him getting the oxygen tank. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is great stuff. And then the ending too with the helicopters is just insane.
Yeah.
Not to spoil anything, but that is, I think, my favorite stunt within this entire franchise is that helicopter chase. That blows me away. I'm like, you're able to just fucking, how much do they have to pay in terms of insurance on Tom Cruise for these stunts? Because what they do in Final Reckoning, just everything he does in this franchise. I'm like, this dude is a liability with what he's setting out to do, which kudos to him because he pulls it off. Everything looks great. What they're able to capture in camera, and this rings through all of the Christopher McQuarrie directed I almost said Top Gun, Mission Impossible films. I don't understand Tom Cruise or whoever comes up with the big stunts. How, as a director, do you say, yeah, I know how we'll film that. I know how we'll capture that. Doesn't make sense. And especially within Final Reckoning, when we talked about that, there's just shit, especially in Fallout, that I'm like, how did you conceptualize that you were going to film this? That when he is climbing on the rope up to the helicopter, and then that drop down to like the big load that they're carrying, I'm like, oh my god, just that there's such good tension throughout the movie. We have also Alec Baldwin is back in this one. He was introduced in Rogue Nation, so you have him back, and also his demise in this film. But Fallout is, I think, the closest to perfection the Mission Impossible franchise has ever gotten. I have one negative with the entire film, and it's a nitpick, and it's with the Halo jump, and it's just the CGI storm. I'm like, if we didn't have a storm, or at least if it was dialed back a little bit so we could just kind of focus on him and Henry Cavill kind of with this like on again, off again, like we need to work together, even though I think you're a bad guy. Like, you are probably not good. Yeah. You're probably a double agent. But I like their on again, off again. I like just the Halo jump and how they were able to capture that. And I saw a featurette of just like a cinematographer having to do that, jumping backwards out of a plane with a camera mounted on his helmet. I'm like, that's insane.
And the amount of takes that they have to do to get that right.
fucking
If
crazy.
you mess something up on the get-go, you're like, well, we're falling now and it's already done.
So now you got to capture something later on, so
Yeah.
we can kind of get something out of this take of this fucking got in a plane, jumped out. We need to get something worthwhile out of this jump.
No, this movie is amazing. I mean, yeah, this is my favorite of the franchise. Like I said, I think this and 5 really just figured out how to blend everything great about the franchises together. The espionage from 1, the kind of just constant action from 3, the great stunts from 4, just like, you know, some rock climbing, I guess, from 2.
Yeah,
you know, there's something there.
Kind of, yeah.
But
You don't really see a whole lot of like harkening back to Mission Impossible 2. So
Yeah,
like
but you get some rock
Yeah,
climbing
you gotta
here
just
at the
try
end.
and get what you can.
But this like ending to the movie too is like nerve-wracking as they're trying to get the bomb, and I love Michelle Monaghan being there and also helping out and not just being like the person there. But like they have a great, her and Tom Cruise have a great sequence where he's like, no, you have like, you're married now, like you need to be away from me.
You need
to
a
be happy.
stable man and a stable lifestyle.
And that's Wes Bentley.
That's what's
Not me fucking flying this helicopter through cliffs and just like Henry Cavill's death in this movie.
Oh.
The helicopter hanging and you got the hook and Ethan Hunt escapes, but the fucking
Hitting him in the face.
the hook just catches him. I'm like, oh my god.
It's great.
Felt that. It was like, oh my god.
This is also the movie that has my favorite score. I think of all of them, Lauren Balfe did the score for this movie, and I've just been listening to it the past couple days. And there's so many great themes. I love when I forget what the track is called, but when he's running along the rooftops and jumping in the part where he actually breaks his ankle.
fucking ankle,
Yeah, which I love that they
Also
just kept the shot in.
You can see him hobble after it, like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's,
fuck.
he's like, you know what, keep that in the movie. So this one is incredible. I love this movie so much. And then that leads into Dead Reckoning Part 1. Well, as you can tell from the Blu-ray, you probably can't see, but it still says Part 1 on there. But they've retitled it to Dead Reckoning. So, you know, who's to say? It still says it in the title of the movie, so...
I wonder, I watched it on Amazon Prime, like Prime Video, and I'm like, does it say Part 1 on Prime Video anymore, or did they drop that on streaming? I don't remember.
Obviously on physical media, it still says Dead Reckoning Part 1, so at the time we thought we were getting Part 2. But anyways, Dead Reckoning, again, we saw this one together, and got this poster from there, which I love this poster. I think it's really cool. I like that type of art.
We'll need to talk after we run down all these films what your favorite Tom Cruise running scene is in the franchise.
I can tell you it's 3.
Oh yeah, it's
At
when
the
he's
end.
barreling.
Yeah. The camera's just following him, doesn't cut, and I'm like, this is great.
It's that one.
Alright, that's covered.
Yeah, every movie has it. You know, he's running somewhere always. But Dead Reckoning Part 1 came out, and they introduced AI as the villain, which I know
Entity.
is the entity. Yeah, one thing I'll say is I love the sound design of the entity. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I just really like the sound design there. And it's something that I didn't like initially when I know we both saw the movie. I'm like, I don't really care for that. I've come around on it a little bit. I think it feels like a natural progression.
Yeah.
Because this franchise has always had gadgets and tech and dealing with world powers, trying to battle for the newest and biggest tech. And even in like recent years, even in like the 2 years from Dead Reckoning to Final Reckoning, like AI has made a huge jump of people using that. You know, you're on Google and it's Google AI, the first thing that pops up now, which I fucking hate.
Don't like
Fuck
that. Get rid of that.
But so it feels like a natural point. I just still don't love the idea of it being the villain. But I've come around on it a little bit more.
Yeah. That and Gabriel, which
Gabriel sucks.
Gabriel sucks.
Yeah.
And he sucks in Final Reckoning.
Stupid name too.
It's
not threatening.
And I feel like you're trying to make this biblical. Like you're trying so hard to
Yeah.
give the entity this god, like almost like reputation and power. But I'm a big like I get pissed when films or later films in a franchise are like, oh no, this character has been around this entire time. They're so crucial to the development of our lead, and like how they just kind of shoehorn a connection of like, oh, Gabriel was the guy that killed Ethan Hunt's love interest or woman or teammate, and then got him into the IMF because of that. Or I'm like, I don't need you to find a way to work the bad guy into the history of the main character. All I need you to do is give me a compelling villain. Philip Seymour Hoffman didn't know Ethan Hunt prior to when he's like, where's the fucking rabbit's foot? And it's great. He's the best villain. Like, I don't need Gabriel to be, oh yeah, I am your Joker. I am your antip, like I because of me there is you. Like, I don't need that. Like, just give me a good villain. And he's so, I don't think the guy, I don't know the actor's name, but I don't think he blinks in the movies, which I think is just such a villain trope recently of like, oh, just don't blink, you'll look really fucked up on screen.
Yeah.
His performance has never really worked for me, and the inclusion of AI doesn't really work for me. This is the biggest like kind of mixed bag for me within the franchise. Whereas like Mission Impossible 2, I think most people are like, yeah, that's the worst movie. But like there's enjoyment to be had. Dead Reckoning, I see so much potential in it, but there's so many instances where I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't work for me. The pacing doesn't work for me. I don't love the inclusion of AI. The AI, which I agree with you, it is like a natural progression of kind of what like this world would be going through, or what the world of IMF would be going through. We're building on to basically the next greatest world-ruling weapon, and it's AI, this thing that can rule itself without any like governing body. It can basically act on its own and cause nuclear destruction whenever it wants. Like, it knows everything, so it's everywhere. And I'm just like, okay, I get that, but it also feels like it's the closest this franchise has gotten to jumping the shark for me. And I'm like, this almost feels like a Fast and the Furious villain.
Yeah.
At times. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like, this franchise, it has gadgets, it has stuff that's somewhat like outside the realm of 100% believability, but it's still handled in a realistic way, which I think that they attempt with the entity, but it's just, I'm like, I can't buy into this. It's something I don't like, having a tangible villain and it being AI, and it's just, boom, it's out there, it's in the ether, it's in cyberspace. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I agree with you there a little bit. But I do think that this movie still has a lot of really great stuff. I love the opening in the submarine, very Hunt for Red October-esque.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. And I think every action scene in this movie is really entertaining. I love the airport sequence. I think it's in Abu Dhabi.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Benji trying to like defuse this bomb, like all these riddles on there, which I really enjoy. And then you get Haley Atwell introduced in here, which is kind of like Rebecca Ferguson when she came in. I just thought it was a really nice addition to the franchise of like, she's not a spy, she's just kind of a thief.
Pickpocket, yeah.
Just like trying to survive a little bit, like making deals, kind of being a broker, doing her stuff. And she just brings really good energy into the movie. So I love that airport sequence there. And then they have a car chase where they're handcuffed.
Oh, I love that.
I think that is incredible.
That is
just
great.
Their arms like are crossed and they're like, oh, who's driving right now?
Yeah.
Like, are you steering or who's on the... And then they're switching seats and their arms are crossed. Like, it's just a great way to like add tension in the sequence.
There's a point where Haley Atwell's like, all right, I can't do this. I can't do this.
She just gets out of the car.
Yeah, she just gets out. She's like, where are we going?
It's so good. I love that sequence. And then you have kind of the big finale, like you mentioned, the motorcycle scene, which again was marketed heavily and we saw it a lot, but that's also an insane stunt. Just leaping off of a cliff, I think that's crazy.
I don't. I think you give me his team, I would do that without being scared. I think that is not an impressive stunt. At all.
That's wild.
I think that is such a fucking limp dick stunt.
Wow, I don't know if I knew that.
I don't hate it. I hate it as being the like concluding stunt, the big one that we're building to, and also it was like shown so much in the marketing to the point when you see it in the movie, I'm like, all right, fucking just do it already. I like them trying to rummage and climb up the train, especially on a rewatch. I'm like, this part I get. This is like Uncharted. Like, this is fun. But I think that stunt, we've gone skydiving. Fucking drive me off a cliff with a motorcycle and I'll skydive right there. Like, I think...
See, I would never go skydiving again because that scared the shit out of me. So I'm like, driving off and being like, well, I'm just on my own. This motorcycle's going to fall. I'm like, oh, there I am.
Yeah.
I love that stunt. I think it's really good. I think a lot of people maybe feel similar to you. If like we saw it so much in the marketing that it lost its luster a little bit. But the train sequence at the end with the cars falling, like it's just going down, and they're like having to grab on, and like a fire starts in one of the kitchen parts, and then the like piano's falling. I just think there's so many good elements that they bring into that final sequence there.
It feels like the stuff that they do in this train sequence in Dead Reckoning is what they were like, maybe in like the original Mission Impossible, it's like, this is what they wanted to do. Just like them fighting on top of the train, oh, this car's falling off the edge and shit like that. It's just like, I really like how, and like just them climbing through the cars as they're just like chugging off the track, and it's just, all right, no, give me your hand, that piano right there, it's gonna fucking fall on you, give me your hand.
Yeah, it's great. I think this movie is good, but I think it started to get into a little bit of being bloated and having a little bit of overcomplicated plot, and just kind of losing the good balance of tone that they had before, which I think carries over into Final Reckoning, which, 50 minutes in, if you're still watching and you've been waiting for the review for this new movie this week, we're getting to it now.
Are we 50 minutes in?
Yeah, about that. About an hour talking about
Oh my god! This is the first thing! This is a long episode.
Here we go. You can start it at 50.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Final Reckoning now.
Maybe we try and figure out how to put time codes in. I don't know. We don't know how to do that.
This is the second episode we're recording with video, so it's like,
We're still figuring this out.
I'm not putting that much effort into it.
But yeah, I guess spoiler alert for Final Reckoning. Sorry if you don't care about Mission Impossible and we've just been yapping about it.
You're probably not watching us, that's fine.
But Final Reckoning. This is maybe the last Mission Impossible movie. Certainly seems like Tom Cruise's last.
I'd be fine with it. If they're like, it ends here, alright, that works for me. I'm completely cool with it. And I love this franchise. If they wanted to continue it, I'd be like, alright, just convince me enough.
Yeah, so it's kind of undetermined if it's the last one, but we are picking up where we left off from Dead Reckoning, the same AI plot.
Entity, Gabriel.
Entity trying to get to the submarine, you got the key, which I like the design of the key. I think it's really cool, like the two halves make the kind of thing. I think it looks cool. But you get Gabriel back as the villain, which we both kind of don't care for. We get the AI back in bigger fashion here. This movie is almost 3 hours long, which I don't have a problem with, really. If you're going to be consistently good, no issue there. But the problem is that the first hour and a half, maybe, this movie is a lot of exposition, a lot of setup, and a lot of reminding you of what's came before. It is so many flashbacks from
the worst opening scene of the franchise.
It starts off with like an AI type thing, and then we kind of go into like the VHS tape, and it's your mission should you choose to accept it,
but instead of giving you a mission, we're just gonna recap the franchise,
and we're gonna show you, like it's like Ethan Hunt remembering his missions, but it's like
the film shows you.
We've seen, and it's like extended. It's not like a quick little.
No, it's chunks and clips from pre-existing aspects or moments within this franchise, like the earlier films of the franchise, and it just plays out like a greatest hits. Like, I'm guessing and I'm assuming, and this might be wrong, but if you're seeing the 8th movie in a franchise, I think it's safe to assume that you maybe have seen one or two of the other ones. You might not have seen all of them. That's fine, but like, I think you don't play down to the dumbest member of the audience. You play up to the fans of this franchise that have come to every one of these movies. And like, you know what? We can name drop a character and not have to show them to you. You know or you don't. And if you don't, you figure it out later and then you rewatch this movie and it makes sense. Like, I feel like this film, it's a tale of two halves for me because the stunt work, wow. Some of the best consistent stunts of the franchise. The pacing, though, especially in that first half, that first hour, that is just nonstop exposition, flashbacks, cuts back to earlier aspects of the franchise, earlier moments, reminding us, interconnecting new characters to old people or connections and familial relations earlier in the franchise. It's just like, stop shoehorning so much in potentially the last film of the franchise. And then every scene in that first hour is, all right, what's happening? What do we need to do? It's a room of people explaining what's happening, what we need to do, where's Ethan Hunt, what does he need to do? We're on death's door. Nuclear warfare, nuclear fallout is going to happen. How do we resolve this? Ethan Hunt, what are you going to do? This is what you need to do. This is where you're going. All right, go do it.
Yeah, I think that's where it loses a little bit of the individual characters because they're all just saying exposition and being like, all right, like you said, what do we need to do next?
Yeah.
So you kind of don't get as much like fun camaraderie with the team or any individual characters really. As far as some of those like callbacks, I think like some of them worked for me, some of them didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm actually okay with the rabbit's foot being like the kind of like base model for this entity kind of AI.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I think I don't remember if I said it before, but yeah, spoiler alert for this movie.
Yeah. Time back. I'm okay with it. I never really needed to know what Rabbit's Foot was in Mission Impossible 3. Nor do I think that they ever really had an intention or plan behind it. And I'm fine with it becoming the entity, but I'm still like not thrilled with what the entity is in this franchise. But I'm like, all right, that's a good way to harken back to the Rabbit's Foot.
That one doesn't bother me really. It's like a quick enough thing too where they don't like linger on it too much. I'm like, okay, fine, I'm cool with that. Bringing back William Donlow from the first movie, he was in the Langley vault, and
he's the one that picks up the knife. It's in the trailer.
Yeah, he's in the bathroom a lot, puking. He's there, and I love like you would never think of it, but the line after that happens like, all right, send this dude to like Alaska or something. The agent says it in the first movie, like at some station in Alaska. I'm like, oh, they actually did it. Like that's cool. I like that, and he actually has a role in the movie too. He's not just like the guy in the cabin for a couple minutes. He's like actually integral to the plot at the end. So that one works for me.
Yeah.
The one that didn't work for me was Shea Wiggum, who was always just a buzzkill in Dead Reckoning. When he showed up with the other agent from the CIA, I was like, you guys are here.
It's like, we don't need you. Like, and I get like that's probably how we're supposed to feel as an audience, but it's more of like, I don't need this aspect.
There's so many other players already.
I don't need your guys' subplot in this as well.
Yeah. It's so that was kind of like in Dead Reckoning. I'm like, I don't really need you here. In this movie, it's revealed that he is Jim Phelps' son, who was John Voight's character from the first movie. And then they never mention it again. Yeah. They never bring it back. They never tie it in. They never have any like reason for doing it.
No. Except for at the very end, you get like a little like acknowledgement between him and Ethan Hunt after a lot of the stunt work, and it's just like. Basically, like, hey, respect. Like that,
you could do that without.
You don't. Yeah, you don't need him to be Jim Phelps. You could just have him be a guy hunting down Ethan, and then he's like, "Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're not a villain."
Also, like Shea Wiggum's partner, I forget his name in the movie, but in Dead Reckoning they were together, and then in this movie he like joins the team.
Yeah, goes
kind of out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, you're like. You're with him now?
Yeah, you were convinced that easy?
And then Pom Klementif, who I think her name is Paris in the movie. I could be wrong there.
I don't love her in Dead Reckoning. I did like her a lot more in Final Reckoning than I did in Dead Reckoning, mostly because she wasn't Harley Quinn Joker with face paint for no reason. Like,
it's just, yeah, she's okay. She just, like, those two being, like, big members of the team, I'm like, I don't care about you guys as much as, like, Luther and Ilsa.
They're both one note.
Yeah, they're just kind of there. But yeah, like you said, the first half of this movie is a little bit messy, and just the setup, I'm like, we get it, we understand, we've been here. But once you get into that second half, I think for me, once he goes underwater to the submarine, that submarine sequence when he's trying to get the like source code data out of there.
Oh my god.
He's got the suit on, and he's going in, and it's just a well thought out sequence of the submarine. Once he gets in, it's like rolling down this cliff underwater. So he's always like trying to get through, but the water level's changing. The doors he's going in and can get back out of are changing because of the water.
Yeah.
And then he gets in there, and then he's trying to get out of the torpedo hatch. It's just like so many, and like he's trying to avoid the torpedoes that are like going around him. He's just like, oh, I can't blow this up right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Nah.
And then also when he gets out of the submarine and he like has cut his like suit off a little bit, he's just got his breathing tank, and it gets caught on the submarine as it's going down underwater. I'm like, oh, like you feel it. It's such a good sequence.
That and another like example of this franchise always goes out of its way to like raise the stakes even within a like very tense scene or stunt. It's like, oh, but then this happens too, and it gets worse. Like things never get better. Like things are always just like getting harder to accomplish or getting worse. The scenario gets worse. The chances decline. Like he's always up against an insurmountable odds, and then they somehow find ways to get worse before he pulls it off. And that underwater sequence that kind of speaks to, I'm like, how do you just visualize that? You come up with that stunt. How do you go and actually film that? And the water level's changing. Everything done in camera, it looks stunning. And it's a good, like, long sequence. Like, I don't know the exact time of how long that took. It's like 20 minutes, it feels like. Just white knuckled the entire time. And it's one of the standout stunts, I think, not only of this film, but of the franchise. I think it is my favorite underwater stunt. Because you kind of have that in Rogue Nation, too, where he's holding his breath and he's in that kind of, like, weird vault thing that with the spinning arm, and he's trying to get the chips. But in this film, and he's just trying to get into this to get like the like codex or whatever to try and diffuse the entity or have a way to kind of instill a virus into the entity. It's just like, oh my god, I don't care what you're doing, this looks nuts. And even though I know Tom Cruise is alive still today, and this film was made and this was likely shot a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, and I know he's alive, I'm still scared shitless for this guy.
Yeah. And you get that followed up with an incredible final act of this movie, which really does save it. Both of these sequences, you get him trying to get the Luther's poison pill, they kind of refer to it as, a little like kind of thing that they put onto the source code to destroy the AI. And you have Ethan on the biplane, which we've seen in the trailer. I found out yesterday that one of the biplanes, the red one, is actually from a guy in Minnesota. He had the plane for a while. I think he was a veteran, and he like sold it to Paramount a few years back, and then they used it in the movie. So there's kind of a cool little connection.
Yeah.
But you have that scene going on along with them in this doomsday vault, and Simon Pegg and Haley Atwell are trying to like get into this, hack into stuff and cut the wires and do all this as Simon Pegg is dealing with an injury that he's trying to talk somebody else through how to work. So like it's just a lot of great things happening, but that plane sequence is unbelievable. Like it's not just him like initially jumping out of a plane, like he starts in his own plane, has to like climb into that, take the dude out, fly his thing underneath Gabriel's, jump onto that, get him there, and then he's just in between, just rolling, spinning, grabbing onto wherever he can. It was just, I was like, just laughing.
Yeah.
I was like laughing at just how insanely good that this was shot. I was like,
Terrifying.
I can't believe that like somebody's doing this, especially like Tom Cruise. He's getting up there in age. Like he's
in his 60s,
yeah. So just, it was so much fun to watch, and I think it really did end on a high note. And then you get, Luther's little message to Ethan that's on the little kind of hard drive that he made. And I don't know if we mentioned it before, but Luther dies earlier in the movie. I didn't quite feel the impact of that as much as I wanted to. But when that message was playing at the end, it kind of hit me a bit more. Just like we said, he's somebody that's been in the franchise from the beginning. And it was really just sweet hearing him talk about people aren't always going to know what we do for them, but we do it for them. We do it for the good of the world.
For the people we'll never meet.
Yeah, for the people we'll never meet, people in the shadows.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really great way to end it, and it's just a mixed bag of a movie. Though.
Yeah.
I think the highs of this movie are very high, but the lows are some of the lower points in the franchise.
Yeah, in that first hour of me watching it, there were aspects that I was like, I hate this. It was mostly just the fact that it was so exposition heavy. I do like some of the callbacks and connections to the earlier films. I don't hate all of them. I just hate specifically how they showed them, and specifically outlining chunks and scenes from pre-existing movies. I'm like, you don't have confidence in the audience you're showing this to. You think your audience is stupid, that you need to spell this out beat for beat, word for word, scene for scene, who this is, what this was, why this is important. But that first hour that was the hardest part for me to get through. But then once you get through it, that last hour and 30 or hour 40, whatever it is, really works for me. Ving Rhames, the death of Luther in this film, kind of like what you said, it didn't like hit me as much as I wanted it to, but there is a really good line in it, because where Luther finds himself, he's defusing a bomb that Gabriel left behind basically for him. Luther's locked in this cage. Ethan Hunt finds him. Ethan Hunt's trying to open the door to this cage, can't get through, and Luther's like, there's no point in it. We both found ourselves on the right side of the door. He's like, I'm supposed to be here, you're supposed to be there, and it's okay. And I thought that line really, that worked for me, even though like the impact of him dying within this franchise didn't hit me right away. Having him kind of circle back and having his voice carry through a lot of the ending of this film really worked for me. It's really just, there's a lot of new characters that they go out of their way to introduce in this movie too. And it's like, it feels like if this is truly the last movie in the franchise, we're having like 6 new big leads thrown into this movie, which one of them really did work for me. And that is Milchick. What is his name?
Tremel Tillman.
Tremel Tillman.
He's the USS Ohio.
He is awesome. And I love that he consistently refers to Ethan Hunt as Mr. And he's Milchick. He's Milchick in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. I love him so much.
He was the one that like struck the tone of what they did so well in Rogue Nation and Fallout.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what we needed more of in this
because
movie.
the tone of this movie is dour. Like
It's
the
somber.
entire world is on a ticking clock. The entity is winning over and taking over the nuclear arsenal of the world's main superpowers, and the U.S. is the last one, and it's holding out. And the president's like, well, I might as well just wait down the clock, and then do I send off our nuclear arsenal to kill off like other parts of the country just to fortify ourselves later on? And there's a lot of interesting things that they're trying to do, but it just felt so somber the entire time. Whereas like the other movies, like serious shit's going down, but also they're cracking jokes or those like little like brief moments of levity. Mm-hmm. This film kind of lacked that. But that biplane scene is an insane feat of just filmmaking, of stunt work, of camera work. I don't understand how they did it. I don't understand how Tom Cruise is up on a wing of a plane not shitting his pants. And like there you reference it, which like, yeah, he is tied into cables that they rotoscope or CGI out, whatever. But there are points where he's just like spinning within like the structure of the wings and within the cables, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna die. Oh, and I know he's alive now, and I'm just like grabbing onto the armrests of my chair, like he's gonna fucking bite it. Like he's not making it. Still, like a lot of my issues from Dead Reckoning carry over. The entity, is it S.A. Morales or
Issei Morales?
Issei Morales
yeah,
who plays Gabriel doesn't really work. He's too like mustache twirly. Like he's just like, I'm the villain because I'm the villain, and he, like there's no relatability. There's no like, oh, I understand what you're going for. It's just, I'm a bad guy and I do bad things and I want bad things to happen. It's like, you're so compelling. Good job. But yeah, it's more of a mixed bag than I'd want. I still overall really enjoyed this film. I posted a review on our Instagram and I gave it a B+. When I saw it, I saw it last night, Thursday night, preview night, at 10 p.m. And this movie is, at AMC, it's like 3.5 hours because you get the half an hour of ads and trailers. So I didn't get home until like 1:30 to 1:45, and I was fucking beat neck tired, just ready to fall asleep. And I was like, leaving the theater, I'm like, it's a B. Like, there's like, the ending does a lot to kind of save it for me. But then after sleeping on it, waking up this morning, and I wrote the review, and it was like, it's still good. And I actually prefer it to Dead Reckoning. So it's like I still really did dig a large aspect of this movie. It's just that beginning portion of it is so sloppy, and it feels like I think a common critique for some of the latter movies in this franchise, as well as like maybe Marvel movies or big blockbuster movies nowadays, is like, oh, they plan out the big stunts or the big set pieces, and then with those set pieces in place, they write a story around those set pieces to connect them. And I feel like that is very much how this film feels to me. It feels like they're like, all right, we got this sweet biplane sequence, we got this sweet submarine sequence, and the underwater stuff, and we're just got to map them together. This is what's going on, and it just felt so overcomplicated and convoluted, and it felt like they're like, we need to justify our presence within the franchise by connecting back to the roots of the franchise, when I'm like, I don't really need that. Just be good. Like, and you can do that without connecting to the first movie, or like, I don't need Jim Phelps' son. Like, I don't need that. Like, stuff like that is fine to be completely exercised out of this and just leave it alone.
Even though I like Rogue Nation and Fallout are my two favorites, and then Christopher McQuarrie did these last 4 movies, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more variety, even in the directors of some of the last couple, just to get a little bit different flavor and bring in a different element to there.
I know a lot of people probably wouldn't love this take, but also coming off of rewatching Mission Impossible 3 and us talking about J.J. Abrams, and the last time he returned to a franchise to kind of cap it off was Rise of Skywalker, which a lot of people hate. You and I kind of like. Sorry, that's a hot take. Just thinking about that now, I'm like, what if J.J. Abrams came back and capped off this franchise? I feel like he could have handled it with more nuance, and it could have been probably a little bit more of a concise film, because Dead Reckoning and this film specifically, I feel the runtime. This one more so, though, just because that first hour is a slog to get through. Yeah. And it's so bogged down by exposition that it's just like, oh my god, quit fucking talking about what's going to happen. Just show me something.
Regardless, it's been such a fun week of rewatching Mission Impossible.
Yeah. And it feels like we shit-talked Final Reckoning. I still really had a great time. And I'm planning on seeing it again in theater. So
like the movie. This is my favorite action movie franchise of all time. I think it's the most consistent. I absolutely love it. So gonna give you our rankings of the movies here real quick after we've spent over an hour talking about it. But it's been really fun though.
Talking about 8 movies an hour, that's fine.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground.
It's been a great time. So for me, my ranking goes Fallout, Rogue Nation, 3, 1. This is where it gets tricky for me. This is okay. I'm gonna try and let's see. I'm trying to remember what I had thought earlier. Now I'm like, after
I remember it specifically.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Fallout, Rogue Nation, 3, 1, Ghost Protocol, Dead Reckoning, The Final Reckoning, and 2. With that being said, there's a lot of that middle part where like Ghost Protocol, The Final Reckoning is kind of lumped in like all very close together, and then like 3 and 1 and 5 are all very close together. But I think that's kind of my final ranking.
You and I had the same top 4, just in a slightly different order. Which I know, like, I definitively know my favorite is Fallout. So Fallout's number 1. My number 2, it really depends on the day I'm having. But if you ask me now, my number 2 is Mission Impossible, the original. Just because I like the spy and the espionage and the more serious tone to that. 3 would then be Rogue Nation. 4 would be Mission Impossible 3. 5 would be Ghost Protocol. 6 would move into Final Reckoning. 7, Dead Reckoning. And then 8, Mission Impossible 2. This isn't my favorite action movie franchise, but this is, I think, the most consistent action movie franchise. My favorite action movie franchise, my favorite movie franchise of all time is James Bond. I love James Bond. I think that this franchise does a lot of stuff consistently better than the James Bond films, but I just love the history of James Bond. But we just spent a lot of time kind of lightly bashing like Dead Reckoning, Final Reckoning, Mission Impossible 2. But even though they're at the bottom of my ranking, they're still very enjoyable, fun rides. They give me exactly what I'm wanting out of it, even if sometimes it's a little bit buried behind some stuff that I don't like. I'm still getting an enjoyable film experience, and I also have a lot of love for the approach to these films and Tom Cruise's like gung-ho, like, we're making movies for the theaters. And it's kind of also coming off of like Top Gun Maverick, and also just Sinners came out earlier this year, and I remember seeing stuff of him hyping up Sinners and like, go see this in theaters, like Sinners is great. And it's just like seeing someone who's such a like principal forefront actor, movie star, that's like, no, this is where films are supposed to be seen, and we're gonna dedicate ourselves and dedicate our time to giving you something that is worthy of seeing in theaters, which all of these films are. Even the ones that aren't as great as the top of the list, Fallout. Like, they're all worthy of seeing in theaters, and they are great action spectacle, and they're just a great time. And I love this franchise. It's kind of weird. If this is the last one, I'm going to kind of be a little bit bittersweet, because, like, I'd have more, but also it feels like a good stopping point to me. Especially with Ethan Hunt or Tom Cruise getting up there in age.
Yeah, we've grown up with these movies even before we were born, and then the year we were born up till now, kind of a crazy trajectory. So Tom Cruise has always given it 100% in every single movie. So it's been fun. Been fun rewatching them. Been fun talking with you about them too, just to recap all 8 movies over the last 30 some years.
What's your favorite stunt? Because we did favorite running, which we both agree is Mission Impossible 3. Do you have a favorite stunt and a favorite hair?
Oh, favorite.
Because I feel like that is also, we already discussed that lightly.
Good.
But
Ghost Protocol hair is pretty good.
Ghost Protocol hair.
I like the Ghost Protocol hair.
I think
favorite stunt, I would probably say, man, the plane sequence is great. I'm gonna go with the helicopter sequence from Fallout.
Yeah.
I think I might say the biplane sequence in Final Reckoning, but then my second would be the helicopter sequence in Fallout. My favorite hairstyle is probably Ghost Protocol or Rogue Nation, which are two different sides of the spectrum. Rogue Nation, he has a little bit more like kept shorter hair. My least favorite hairstyle is the first one. Just short, almost military style cut, and I'm like, oh, I don't need this in Tom Cruise. That's fine. But a great franchise, and I'm probably gonna end up seeing Final Reckoning again in theaters, especially with this upcoming week of releases. We only have kind of 2 big ones to talk about, but I mean, I will happily try and see this. Like, I don't know if there's many theaters around us that do like the 4DX theater experience. But this would be quite
It'd be a fun one.
This would be like a wild one, or like the D-Box, which I don't even like fully know what all happens in those types of screenings. But
I'll show you a fucking D-Box.
It does sound fucking raunchy as hell. So I'm really excited to see this movie, even though I didn't love everything about it. It was still such a great time at the theaters, and I think based off of the packed theater that I was in at 10 p.m. on a Thursday, and how people were reacting to the movie, that it'll probably hopefully stick around in theaters for a long enough time, just because I know Dead Reckoning didn't perform the best in theaters. So hopefully Final Reckoning can make a decent penny and stay in theaters a long enough time so I can see it maybe more than twice. The other movie that I was really gung-ho about trying to see this past week, because it was in limited release for almost all of May, but finally has expanded out and now it's in theaters around us, was Friendship, directed by Andrew DeYoung, and this is the A24 kind of uncomfortable, cringy comedy with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. Also got Kate Mara and Jack Dylan Grazer, which also surprised me. I forgot that he was in this movie until I saw it. And it's just about this suburban dad played by Tim Robinson who is just fucking awkward. Just a very uncomfy guy to be around. And he's just trying his best, but he just does not pick up on social cues. He's very out there. And he falls hard for his charismatic new neighbor, who's played by Paul Rudd, who is a weatherman, and he goes out and does these weird, cool adventures in the sewer system of the city. Like, it's just such a weird, oddball concept. And I think the trailers do the stupid thing of, like, this is the funniest comedy I've ever seen, and, like, having those pull quotes that I don't think really give people a good understanding of what the type of movie this is. Because this is a movie that I think really balances comedy and not necessarily horror, but the things that are like play into both horror and comedy in that genre, those genres of it's trying to get a specific reaction out of you. And whether this is funny to you or makes you uncomfortable, it's going to kind of teeter a little bit. There are scenes in this movie that had me laughing for an extended period of time and just trying to close my mouth, and then immediately following it up with one of the cringiest, most awkward things I've ever seen. So this is a movie that is very much within the Tim Robinson like comedy style. If you're familiar with his work, he has like a Netflix show, I believe, I Think You Should Leave. And he has a bunch of sketches within that show that I think are really funny, and some sketches that I think are very cringy and uncomfortable to sit through. And the majority of this movie really worked for me. It's very straightforward and to the point. There's not really like a set goal, I feel like, with what the story is leading to. It's just you spend a lot of time with Tim Robinson's character and his kind of his inability to really connect with people and not see eye to eye with people, and really aspiring to be a little bit more extroverted and be charismatic and get along with people and know how to talk to people, but he's just a bit fucking odd. So this movie had me laughing a lot uncontrollably, but also had me like squirming in my seat like, oh fuck, don't, oh god, he's a gun now? Whoa, like just a lot of weird shit happens. It's not the most out there movie of the year. It's a really sneakily funny movie. It's not a movie I think that would be for everyone. I've seen people like the comparison, and this is mostly I feel like harped around a bromance with Paul Rudd in it. I see a lot of people compare this to like a more off kilter I Love You Man, which like all right, fine if you want to try and make that comparison, but it's a really intriguing and interesting movie. Tim Robinson had me cracking up a couple of times. Paul Rudd is also very great in the movie, same with Kate Mara. It's a hard sell, and it's a hard movie to recommend to a lot of people. I think my brother Tyler would really get a kick out of it. I don't know why. My brother Tyler, who is definitely watching this or listening to this in some capacity,
I think he'd enjoy this movie because he is.
yeah, that's specifically for you from Corey. I think he would get a kick out of this movie just because I feel like this would really tickle him in a way. But it's such an interesting movie, and I'm really happy I was able to see it. And the theater I was in, it wasn't packed in the way that my Final Reckoning screening was, but I could hear the people behind me laughing and having a good time, and I could see the guy sitting in front of me who didn't laugh once, sat stone cold through the entire thing. I'm like, you fucking hate this movie.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be for everyone. It's very dependent on kind of what you're looking for, but it is a very uncomfortable comedy.
Yeah, I've been very curious about it. Just it has that like off-kilter look, and Tim Robinson's comedy, it's kind of hit or miss for me. I think sometimes it works well, and then sometimes he's just screaming, and I don't think screaming is that funny. I like when you do like jokes, kind of. I don't know. So
I went in with that idea too of like, I don't love like just like the screaming and being obnoxious to be obnoxious to the yelling. There's like kind of like a small reoccurring thing where he just always drops shit. Like he'll be in mud and he'll be like, fuck, I dropped my fucking phone. Like just like stuff like that. That had me kind of cracking up surprisingly, because I was like, okay, I get it. Like, settle down. Like, this isn't funny. But like, it just kept happening, and I was like, it's working on me.
Yeah, I'm very curious about it. I don't know if I'll catch it in theaters or not. We'll see. But I will at some point watch it and talk about it on here. This past week, we also had the penultimate episode of The Last of Us Season 2. This was the 6th episode, and this was the flashback. We got Joel back. We got Pedro Pascal back. It was so nice.
The last time we'll see him.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, there could be more flashbacks. You never know.
I mean,
It's
I feel
in
like
a large quantity in an episode,
that's
for
true.
sure.
This is the last like Joel-centric episode we get.
And this is an episode that I think everybody desperately needed after the second episode.
Yeah.
And just over the past few, which we both really liked,
Mm-hmm.
but you kind of feel the absence of Pedro Pascal, so you just needed this kind of last little cap. And you get this episode that is essentially the framing device is Ellie's birthday happening after they get to Jackson, after the events of the first season. And you get kind of jumping ahead like a year to each birthday before Joel dies.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just a brilliant way to structure this. Like I said, I haven't played the game, so I don't know exactly how it plays out in that sense. But I love just seeing the initial kind of birthday where she's still like really excited to have him as a father figure.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, he gets her a cake, and then the next year they go to the science museum and the dinosaur, going into the space shuttle, and just like sitting in the space shuttle and Joel like gives her the tape, so she's listening to like the astronauts taking off.
Countdown, yeah.
And he's just looking at her, and she takes it off, and he's like, "Did I do okay?" Like, just a dad being like, "Do you like your gift?"
I'm figuring this out.
Like, dude, like, are you okay with that? Like, was that good? Like, that was just heartbreaking, but so sweet. So you get the highs of being a dad, of being a parent, and you get the lows of that too as a teenager, and just the shock of seeing her like with another girl and getting a tattoo and smoking. He's like, all of it at
Yeah,
once.
he comes in and he's like, I didn't think that you'd be hitting all the sex, the tattoos, and
She's like, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, what the hell, dude? It's like, what? This is weird, man.
he's like, you were fine, and then you decided now all of it, right now.
So it's just like a great like tracking of their relationship, which has always been the strongest part of the show, and you really just see like the seeds that kind of Joel planted of where Ellie has grown up and taken a lot of his lessons.
Yeah.
And we get the porch sequence too. We get
So the best acting we've seen in this show,
yes,
aside from maybe episode 3, season 1.
yeah, and it's kind of precluded by the opening scene of this episode, which we get Tony Dalton, who I love Tony Dalton. He's great in Better Call Saul, Lalo Salamanca, one of the best villains in TV ever. I love him. He's great, and then in Hawkeye as well, he's really fun.
Yeah.
Just kind of a swordsman.
And Daredevil Born Again,
Yeah,
briefly.
and Daredevil, yeah. So it just, I think he's a great actor, and what a great choice for Pedro Pascal's dad.
That worked for me.
Like,
I
that's
was
awesome.
like, like this doesn't exist within the game, but as soon as it started, I was like, I think I know what they're doing right
Yeah.
now. I'm like, this is definitely.
It worked perfect. Yeah, I was like, what great casting.
Yeah.
So you get that, and just this conversation he has with Joel as a young kid, and like talking about him and Tommy, and just how he's treated them, how his father treated him, and you kind of get this recurring kind of bookend of the show of these lines where Tony Dalton's like, when it's your turn, I hope you do a little bit better than me as a father. And then you kind of flash forward to the end of this episode of the porch sequence, and you get Joel talking to Ellie, and it's, you know, he finally tells her that he killed all the, you know, people, the doctor, and there wasn't raiders, there wasn't anything.
She killed the only person that could make a cure.
Yeah, she's like, that's my thing, like, that was my decision. I could have made a difference.
My life could have mattered.
Yeah, and you just get this incredibly acted sequence between the two of them, and he kind of repeats the line. He's like, if you should have a kid of your own, I hope you do a little bit better than me, or like if you're a parent or whatever. Like, it's just, it just hits so hard. And also, Ellie's just like questioning why he did it, and he's just like, it's because I love you. It's like, I didn't want to see you die. Like, you would have died if I would have let you stay there.
Yeah.
It just hits so hard, and you see the rifts of their relationship kind of break up too. You get Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pants, who I love, plays
I was
Eugene.
wondering. Yeah, I was happy that they paid that off because we got that initial therapy sequence with Pedro Pascal and Catherine O'Hara, where she's like, "You killed my husband," and I was like, "Ooh, are we gonna see that in this?" I think that they handled that so perfectly, and not only that, the eventual death of Joey Pants by Joel because he's infected, and he's like, "No, I really just want to see my wife again," and Joel's like, okay, fine. Like, Ellie wins him over. Ellie, go back and get the horses, and then we'll bring him back to town so he can see his wife before he dies, or before he transitions, then we have to kill him. And then he brings him out, and Joel leads him out to that like waterscape, just to look out over the water. And he catches on, and he's like, no, dude, I need to see my wife. And he's like, if you love someone, you can see them everywhere. You can see them all the time. That shit's fucking hit me so hard. I was like, God damn. And then the realization of it is like, Joel's gonna fucking kill me right now. And then Ellie returns, and already with the suspicions of what happened with the Raiders and with the Fireflies and the cure and all that stuff, to see Joel lie again to her. Oh, and you can tell she's just like, you definitely are lying here, and you lied then. And I need you to be straightforward with me, which, when that leads into the ending of this episode and that conversation, and also Joel being like, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it the exact same. I'd do it all over again.
It's
And-
great because you can see both of their perspectives, both with like with Joey Pants, that whole situation. It's like, you're like, yeah, dude's infected. Like, we can't let him in. But I was like, he's still got time. Like, he can say goodbye.
He can say, yeah.
But like, what if something goes wrong and he gets in and he infects everybody? So it's like, you can see it, and even at the ending too, of their different philosophies on in Utah, how all that was handled. He's like, you said, he's like, I would do it again, and she's like, I could have changed the world.
Yeah,
could have saved everybody. So this episode is great. I think just a much needed one for this season. Just pack that emotional punch.
Yeah.
And we're heading into the finale of this season, which is crazy that we're already there.
It
feels like it just started.
I feel like season 1 was 8 or 9 episodes, maybe.
I think it was 8.
Yeah, this season is 7, and there's talks that season 3 is going to be strictly focused on Abby's storyline or Abby's viewpoint, and then potentially a season 4, maybe. I've heard rumblings of, so it's like, okay, all right, I see where you're kind of going. One more gut-wrenching line and aspect to that sequence, that porch scene, when Bella Ramsey, as Ellie says, I don't know if I can ever forgive you, but I know I want to try. And that might not be verbatim, but I know I want to try. That, I think, perfectly encapsulates her rage. And now that Joel is gone, how she handles things and how she's trying to get back to him. And it's,
that's the last time they ever talked to each other.
Yeah, and no, whenever people are like, Bella Ramsey can't carry this show, she's the wrong person to play Ellie, I'm like, shut the fuck up! Oh my god, get your head out of your ass. She's acting circles around people. Not only that, I think she's doing a really damn good job. There's some, like, the I'm gonna be a dad moment. I'm like, okay, I don't need that. But I think that she's done an exceptionally well done job at spearheading and leading the redemption arc and the revenge arc of this show of, I need to find people that did me wrong and ruined the one good thing I had in my life, even if I was blind to that when I had it.
Great show.
Great show. I don't know if it's hard to compare seasons 1 and seasons 2 just because they are very different. It's like comparing game 1 and game 2. I know people have preferences, but I think that this just works so well as a part 1, part 2, first half, second half, and I think that this has just all been a great natural progression of the characters. I have loved it so much, and it's kind of bittersweet because I don't know when the fuck we're gonna get season 3, especially with the way streaming TV shows go. I'm like, damn, is it gonna be like 2 years when we get season 3?
Who knows?
I don't want to be away from these characters that long. It's so good, so good.
Yeah, great show. Can't wait for the last episode next week.
Yeah. One thing that I set out to watch this week, I've been kind of in that Star Wars kick as Andor wrapped up, and I'm like, all right, I want to watch Rogue One. I also want to watch New Hope. But also Empire Strikes Back was getting near its 45th anniversary, and Empire Strikes Back is my 6th favorite movie of all time, directed by the great Irving Kershner, who made RoboCop 2, which is wild. He made this and RoboCop 2. Okay. The film stars everyone that you love in Star Wars, and this is the first time we see Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, and he is just so fucking cool in this movie. And the Battle of Hoth is fantastic. I'm not going to talk too extensive about Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5, whatever you want to call it. It's just perfection in terms of Star Wars films. I love this movie. You get all the great aspects of the introduction of Yoda, introduction of Lando, the ongoing adventure and running around of Han Solo and Leia, and Luke going to Dagobah and training, and Darth Vader, and the I am your father. You get all of the iconic, perfect sequences within Star Wars in one movie. You get the awesome Battle of Hoth. I have no complaints with this movie. It's my 6th favorite movie of all time for a good reason. This is an infinitely rewatchable movie to me. Corey, you didn't watch this movie, but I know you love this movie probably as much as I do. What are your thoughts on Empire Strikes Back?
Best Star Wars movie.
Yeah. And I think most people think that.
Yeah, it's up there for sure for a lot of people. One of the best movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's laid the groundwork for so many things, even just the spoofs of the Strikes Back. Like, even just the title of it is kind of obviously been used in so many things. It's so iconic and so important to movies. And, you know, I hope they do, I'm sure they'll do like a 50th anniversary, because I want to see this movie in theaters. I would love to see all 3 original trilogy movies in theaters. So Yeah, I love it. I don't have much else to say. Irvin Kershner also did the unofficial James Bond movie, Never Say Never Again. So kind of going back to that. Interesting career, but
yeah, interesting career. It's
who
like you made the
knows-
best Star Wars movie and then RoboCop 2, which
How-
isn't the worst RoboCop movie. So there
how
you go.
much of this movie was George Lucas? How much was Irvin Kershner?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll never know.
Yeah.
But
And I will say, I hope they do a 50th anniversary re-release, kind of a la what they did with Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace these past couple of years. But the one thing I will say, I have a Blu-ray copy of a despecialized edition, the unedited edition. But I can see it with its bare bones, back to basics, the way it was done in the 80s, Empire Strikes Back. If you were to watch Empire Strikes Back with the special edition edits, it's not that big of a deal.
like didn't have to change much.
They didn't have to change much. They knew they fucking killed it the first
Yeah.
time. It's not like watching Jedi Rocks in Return of the Jedi and you're like, what the fuck is happening right now? So they're like, definitely New Hope and Return of the Jedi have the brunt of the specialized edition edits that kind of are just hard to sit through. Empire Strikes Back, you can watch the despecialized edition or you can watch the special edition edits, and it's gonna work. They both work exceptionally well. There's not really that big of differences. And I just so happen to watch the despecialized edition. Sometimes I watch the specialized edition. Depends on what is readily available to me at the time. And I know that regardless of what I'm going to choose, it's not going to really I'm not going to sacrifice anything in terms of quality. Whereas, again, I don't want to watch Jedi Rocks. I remember watching that on the VHS specialized edition before I ever saw the original version of it. And I was like, I remember that song when she's just screaming out of her little fucking mouth. I'm like, what the fuck is this? As like a 7-year-old, I'm like, what is this?
I dug that shit.
I hated it so much.
Oh, it's so bad, but I was
my
like, this is awesome.
Oh, it's so stupid. Oh my god.
And Max Rebo on the fucking
Yeah.
horns.
Also, we're not talking about Return of the Jedi. We're talking about Empire Strikes Back. But Return of the Jedi, I love the guy that gets so sad. The guy that's in charge. What's the big monster?
The Rancor?
The Rancor. The Rancor master or Wrangler, whatever. When the Rancor dies, and he just comes in and he's just shirtless, big hairy guy, sobbing. Just.
His boy.
That's his.
That's his boy. He's like,
I need a anthology series centered around that character and how he got to that
a
point.
Rancor master story.
Rancor Master story.
Give it.
Don't give
come
me a
on.
solo prequel. I
Yeah,
need that.
don't give us a Mando and Grogu movie.
No.
Give us that.
Give me that. That is what I want to know.
Yeah.
about it.
Absolutely.
In terms of new releases coming out this week, for May 30th, 2025, we do have a couple of semi-big releases. One that definitely has kind of snuck up on me and I'm actually genuinely excited about, and that would be Karate Kid Legends, which I'm not the biggest Karate Kid fan. I think my exposure to the franchise was the 2011, I think, Jaden Smith one with Jackie Chan. This one is the returning appearance of Jackie Chan, as well as now Ben Wang. I've seen it pronounced both ways, and I'm just a white guy trying my best. So I'm going to say Ben Wang. Ralph Macchio also returning to the franchise, as well as Ming-Na Wen. Synopsis here: after Kung Fu prodigy Li Fong relocates to New York City, he attracts unwanted attention from a local karate champion and embarks on a journey to enter the ultimate karate competition with the help of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso. I wasn't excited for this. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Karate Kid fan, but the trailers have really worked for me. Not only that, Ben Wang was on a episode of The Corridor Crew where they broke down some of the stunt work within stuff that they've shown in the trailers and a small featurette of this upcoming movie. And I'm like, damn, this dude is charismatic as hell. He also just got cast in the upcoming Sunrise on the Reaping, the new Hunger Games movie, so I'm excited to see him in that. I am getting surprisingly pretty stoked for this movie, even though I'm I haven't seen anything made by this director. This is the feature directorial debut of Jonathan Entwistle. I have no idea the quality of this film. I'm not the biggest Karate Kid fan. Corey, where are you at in terms of anticipation for this film?
I love the first Karate Kid. I think that movie is awesome. I grew up watching that all the time, so I have a fondness for that movie. I've seen the second one, and I remember liking it. I mean, as a kid, I was like, oh, this is sweet. I haven't seen the third one. I haven't seen the one with Hilary Swank.
Is that the third one, or is the fourth one Hilary Swank?
There's 3 with Ralph Macchio initially, and then
Okay,
Hilary
then
Swank's like the
Hilary
next
Swank's
Karate
the
Kid.
one, yeah, okay.
And then I actually have not seen the Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith one. So you know what I'm doing this week?
You know what?
Watching through all the movies.
Oh, you know.
It's been busy weeks. I also still have to watch through the Lilo and Stitch movies.
But we didn't watch that yet. We didn't talk about it this week. We didn't watch it because we had Mission Impossible on the
We're recording early. It's a Mission Impossible week, but it's just between Mission Impossible, Lilo and Stitch, Karate Kid, busy week. But I'm excited. It kind of looks like more of the same, but like if they do it well, cool.
Well, that synopsis is basically both the first Karate Kid movie and the 2011 Karate
it's a
Kid movie.
karate
Okay.
competition,
Yeah.
some conflict here and there, but you know what?
You need to train the kid that's getting picked on, and he's probably gonna crane kick the guy in the face when he is doing an illegal move.
Yeah, but if it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
So I'm down, but I am more excited for Bring Her Back, which is from Danny and Michael Philippou, who did Talk to Me from, 2 years ago? I think it was, 2023, which was
The Raka guys
just
from
a
YouTube.
huge surprise.
Yeah.
This movie, Talk to Me, was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that movie. One of my favorite horror movies in the last 5 to 10 years. And they're coming back with Bring Her Back. And you got Sally Hawkins, Billy Barrett, Misha Haywood, and Jonah Red Phillips. And essentially, it's a brother and sister that are uncovering a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. And the trailers have really worked for me. I think they look really good, very creepy. It's a lot of there's homemade or found footage-esque tapes or
Almost like Sinister Home Videos. It just feels grungy and found in the attic, and it just feels nasty.
It feels it feels like something I'm really gonna dig. I think we'll both really enjoy this one.
Yeah, this. I don't know how scary this is gonna be. Talk to Me didn't really terrify me, except for the one scene when she's fully taken over and I think she's yelling "run" at the people nearby. I'm like, oh fuck, this is terrifying me. I don't think that this movie's gonna be straight up scary to me. I think it's gonna be depressing as fuck though. This feels like a Hereditary almost. It's gonna really infect you and upset you for a long time after the credits. Which I am so down for because I love Hereditary, and I like you talked about. I'm a big fan of Talk to Me as well, and was very pleasantly surprised by that movie. I've heard nothing but good things kind of leading into the release of this movie, so I don't know. I think I'm probably going to be seeing this and then Karate Kid Legends after that. I'm not going to do a double feature on the day just because I think after seeing Bring Her Back, I'm going to probably want to go home and be alone for a while and not talk to anyone. It doesn't feel like a movie where I'm like, oh, I should go talk to friends and get drinks. No, I'm going to go to bed pretty immediately after. But yeah, pretty decent release week with those two big films. Maybe I'll catch up on Lilo and Stitch this weekend. I don't know. I know my wife is a big Lilo and Stitch fan. So maybe we'll go see the live action one. Maybe we'll just say, fuck it. We'll just watch the animated one on Disney+. I don't know. In terms of physical media roundup, kind of a slower week for both Corey and I, but with the Mission Impossible rewatch, I did purchase a bunch of steelbooks last week in preparation for this week, and last week I bought Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol and all, the ones that I've loved. And after now revisiting Mission Impossible 3, I'm like, fuck, this movie, again, we already kind of spoke passionately, glowingly about how great Mission Impossible 3 is, but after rewatching, I'm like, fuck, I need to own this movie. So I bought the steelbook of that. Hopefully that'll come in the next couple of days, and I'll add that to my collection.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I didn't buy anything this week, but wanted to shout out the great Mission Impossible collection. You can see it here. This is through Fallout, and then we have the steelbook over on the other side, which I love that artwork on there. We like to highlight physical media. Not enough people talk about it. Not enough people buy it. So it's just it's got more expensive. So I get it. It's tough.
Yeah. Instead of going opening day to a store and spending $20, $22 for a Blu-ray, now I've gotten to the point where the moment I see a movie, I will pre-order the 4K steelbook for $50 and not see it for 2 months.
Yeah.
What?
My biggest flaw is that I still love buying things in person.
Yeah.
And I hate ordering online.
You lose the fun of it, especially when you're going there to look for something.
Yeah. And you find it and so really now it's just Walmart and Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be buying Final Reckoning to complete the collection, obviously. But coming out this week, we have The Alto Knights, which I actually kind of enjoyed. Good little mob movie from Barry Levinson. The Woman in the Yard from earlier this year. And then we've got a few older releases. Kingdom of Heaven on 4K, Wayne's World 2 on 4K, and then Kingpin. Also coming out on 4K, which I love that movie. I think it's so funny. But yeah, so a couple options. Not like a huge release week, really, but I got a few things coming out. Moving into the movie news, the biggest thing from this week is that Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars got delayed a little bit. They're still coming out in the same years right now, but Doomsday, which was supposed to come out on May 1st, 2026, getting delayed to December 18th, 2026, and then the following year, Avengers Secret Wars moving to December 17th after it was supposed to come out in summer as well. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
This doesn't really change much for me. I know some people were really upset. I'd rather have them take another 5 to 6 months and make a better movie than get a worse movie 6 months earlier.
Yeah.
Take the time that you need. It's still in the same year, so I'm like, cool, we get a Christmas Avengers movie. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I don't think we've really ever had that scale of a Marvel movie in that time of the year. So I'm really actually interested to see how that kind of plays out. Also, with them going into production, like relatively recently, I always thought that was a pretty quick turnaround to try and get it in theaters in May, so a year from now. So I'm completely fine with these getting pushed back. I think the thing that's most interesting now is that Spider-Man Brand New Day will be the next movie we see after Fantastic Four.
Maybe. Unless that gets moved back.
I feel like I don't know. I'm interested to see if it sticks around and if that story within that Spider-Man movie has much to do around with the Avengers, or if it really can kind of happen at any point and then carry into Avengers. But with how it's lined up now, I'm really excited to see how it plays out. It does kind of, because I'm completely fine with the dates being shifted. It's more of just like, fuck, we were so close to being like, oh, the next movie is an Avengers movie. It's like, all right, well, we have Fantastic Four and then maybe a Spider-Man movie and then we'll get to the Avengers. But I'd rather, like what you said, I'd rather them take the time and be able to give us a really good quality product that they're proud of, as opposed to kind of forcing something out pretty quickly. So I'm completely fine with that. A little bit of sadder news this past week. We had the passing of George Wendt at the age of 76. Actor famously known for Cheers, which is one of my favorite sitcoms that I discovered during COVID and just went through and watched all of that show. It is such a happy show for the most part. But the actor leaves behind a legacy of laughter and friendship. His family, I believe, confirmed that he died peacefully in his sleep. And they described him as a doting family man and a cherished friend. He hadn't really been in much lately, and I feel like most people do recognize him or remember him for his role as Norm in Cheers. Also, the Dope Bears sketch, like, infamous. He's perfect in that. Norm is, I feel like, one of the best characters in Cheers, and I think if you went up to any Cheers fan, the odds-on favorite for who they would say the best character or their favorite character is probably going to be Norm. Just because Norm walks into the room, Ted Danson greets him, "Hey, Norm, what are you having?" I've never met a beer I wouldn't drink. Like, just, he always just is so quick with it. He's such a good comedic genius, and he's just such a lovable character actor. So it is a bit of sad news this past week with the passing of George Wendt. It makes me want to go back and rewatch some episodes of Cheers, definitely, and I likely will in the coming weeks. Maybe I'll just go through a full rewatch of it. I haven't done a rewatch of it. I've only seen it the one time all the way through during COVID, but maybe it's ripe for a rewatch, and George Wendt will be definitely missed. He had a great impact not only on that show, but just comedy and laughter and making people smile around the world for a long time.
I've not seen Cheers, but even so, like, I know the Norm. Like,
it's
like,
so iconic.
It's a part of pop culture, and you just know it. So obviously, I've been aware of him. So obviously, very sad that he's passed on, but leaving behind a very classic legacy. So prayers for his friends and family. But he will be remembered through his work. Moving into kind of a trailer roundup for the week, we had Darren Aronofsky's new movie Caught Stealing, which I think is coming out in August, if I remember right.
I think so.
Later this year sometime.
Yeah, towards the end of the summer.
It looks pretty fun. You got Austin Butler and
Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith.
yeah, a good cast in there. Vincent D'Onofrio, I think, is in there as well.
Yeah.
And it just looks like a fun movie. It's like sort of baseball centered in a sense, but I don't even know the full plot really. But I'm down for a movie from Darren Aronofsky. He's always doing something interesting, so I like that. We got a final trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth, showing you more of what you've seen. The dinosaurs on the island, ScarJo, Jonathan Bailey, all the crew's there. And then we got a little teaser for Zootopia 2, which there was no dialogue or anything in there. It was just animals and
just
creatures slithering around.
Kind of showing us a new. I think the snake is now a new big character within this next film. So it's like,
I
sure.
love the first Zootopia, so
Yeah, I really do enjoy that.
I think 2016 was a good Disney animated year with Moana and Zootopia.
Yeah,
That was
solid.
very strong. So I'm, Zootopia. There's room to tell more stories in that world. I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. And then another one was the prequel to the It films, the newer It films. Welcome to Derry, which is going to be an original series from HBO Max, not Max. It's HBO Max.
HBO Max.
And I actually really do like the original miniseries of It. I haven't read the book. But I like that miniseries.
I'm not brave enough to try and tackle.
I have the book.
that thick.
Yeah, I have the book. I know my brother's a big Stephen King fan. And
I have a very low reading Lexile.
Yeah,
I can remember in middle school when we had to do Lexile, getting RC points. I don't know if other people had to fucking
You
do
take
this,
a
but
quiz.
You'd read a book, you'd take a quiz, you had to get at least a 7 out of 10 in each book based on the complexity or the difficulty of the reading within it. Had a certain allocated amount of points that you would earn for it, and based on how you tested, you had to get an X amount of points each quarter, which was just such a nauseating fucking thing. I like reading. If you let me read, I'll just read naturally. I don't need to fucking be tested on it, because otherwise I'm just gonna watch Friday Night Lights, The Blind Side, and all the Hunger Games movies and try and take the test on the books knowing what I know from the movie.
100%.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's just a random tangent.
we all did that as 6th, 7th
Yeah,
graders.
Or oh shit, did you hear this person read this book? They know it. Talk to them. Maybe they can take your test for you. It's
Give me
oh
the
my
bullet
God.
points.
Yeah,
Give
give
me
me the bullet
spark
points so I
notes.
can fucking get a 7 out of 10 on this and pass my reading.
For sure. So I've always wanted to read it, but I just haven't got around to it. I really enjoyed the 2017 movie. I think that's a really good horror movie. Again, kind of like an entry level type horror movie where it's not super scary, but still has some actually good horrifying moments in there. I'm down for a little more Pennywise in the past, and I don't know what year exactly this takes place, but him just causing havoc in Derry, Maine.
Why the fuck do people live in Derry?
Why do people live in Maine?
I want to live
In Stephen King books.
That's true. Okay, that's true.
After Stephen King, you want to go to
Stephen King.
Maine?
Yeah, no. Every
Really?
Stephen King book is Maine is a fucked
Yeah,
up
run over
weird
by a
place.
semi, dude.
All the old adults are a little weird, and they're all in on something. They all know something's up.
Balloons flying around, people
Red
smiling
balloon,
at you.
you'll float too.
Yeah.
I really, in terms of the trailers that came out throughout this week, I was really pleasantly surprised by Caught Stealing. I don't want to say I have no interest in the movie. I just seeing the production images of Matt Smith with the spiky mohawk, I'm like, fuck off. The last thing I have to reference you to or link you to is Morbius, so I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan of you right now. But I'm a big fan of Darren Aronofsky, and the trailer is actually, I think, really fun and really engaging, so I'm excited to see kind of how that plays out. I will likely end up seeing that in theaters later on this summer. Jurassic World Rebirth, I think that this has been the best trailer so far of their marketing campaign for this movie, which I'm not the biggest Jurassic World, Jurassic Park minus the first film, I'm not the biggest fan of that franchise. So this kind of shows more of the horror iconography of the franchise and really terrifying you and the tension of it. So I'm a little bit more intrigued by that. Zootopia 2, cool. I got to see animated animals again. Fucking sweet. I'll probably see this movie and I'll probably think it's great. Because I thought the first one was a great time. And I also got to see it at a drive-in movie theater during COVID. It was the first time I ever went to a drive-in. I got to see Avengers and Zootopia back to back. And I was like, okay.
Nice.
Welcome to Derry. Sweet. I will probably watch it. The first of the newest It iterations. It Chapter 1, or the first It movie in 2017, made by
Andy Muschietti.
Andy Muschietti. I almost said Andy Spaghetti.
Andy Spaghetti.
Andy Spaghetti, who made just an atrocious Flash movie, but Andy Muschietti, who made It Chapter 1. I love that movie. It Chapter 2, dog shit. But I'm excited to see the latter half of It, and seeing them as adults. It's harder to make that scary and interesting. But I'm excited to see Welcome to Derry, and this trailer, I think, does enough. I don't need to see a whole lot of Pennywise, but just give me the scares that I expect with Pennywise and the weird shit happening in Derry, Maine. So yeah, I'm pretty sold on these trailers for this week. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the output and the stuff that we were able to see this week. In more kind of frustrating news, at least for me, and we've talked about Matt Reeves and the Batman 2 and the rumors of Batman 2 and is Matt Reeves going to come back and direct and the writing and all that shit. We've talked about it kind of a decent amount. Batman 2 script, the first draft, which is nearing completion, but has a deadline, and it's close to being turned in, and will be turned in early this upcoming week. I believe it's on Memorial Day. I believe it's this upcoming Monday. The first draft is to be completed, which Matt Reeves is kind of known for working slow, yes, but also only really doing a small number of drafts and really being a perfectionist. Okay. First movie came out in what? Fucking 2022? 2021? 2022?
22, yeah.
Took you fucking 3 years to write a first draft to a Batman movie that you heavily worked as a creative, spear front on. I've heard rumors of him having failing health, so I'm not going to insult the man, but wow, you're working mighty fast to get this second Batman movie written. Can't wait. In all that negativity aside, I'm happy that we have at least a report regarding Batman 2 that shows positive momentum of something being completed and a step in the right direction. There's that report of, Matt Reeves might not be directing this. It's like, oh my god, just fucking, when is this movie coming out? When can I see it?
Yeah.
Move on.
There's a lot of rumors flying around about when the timeline for things and what's happening behind the scenes. As long as it's a good movie, I'm not going to care at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be happy if it's a solid follow-up to the movie. Sticking in the comic book stuff, we've got Fantastic Four: The First Steps. We are pretty close. We're a couple months away now. It's exciting, which is...
month and a half.
Oh, I'm so pumped for this movie. Just a few more little updates. We got some promo art giving the first look at Galactus, who we saw his feet. We saw his feet walking through in the trailer. But we see his look now, which he looks like Galactus.
See his face, yeah.
So he looks like him. And then you also get a Funko ad that's showing the possible inclusion of Franklin Richards, who is the son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm.
Yeah.
So getting a little possibility there. I'm so excited for this movie. And another piece, actually, of movie news we didn't include on here that I wanted to shout out quick is some more casting for Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping.
I didn't even put that on. Yep.
Yeah, we had two heavy hitters on there. We had Elle Fanning as Effie, who Elizabeth Banks played, and then we had Kieran Culkin as Caesar Flickerman, which I think is perfect.
Amazing.
I love that. So we got two more big ones. I love it.
My excuse for not including it in the movie news for this week is that we did a big update last week with all the casting information and all the people coming out for the cast for the Sunrise on the Reaping. I remember distinctively when Kieran Culkin was cast now as Caesar, just because Allie, my wife, texted me immediately, "Oh my god, it's Kieran!" I'm like, okay, sounds good. Holy shit, that's great. Yeah, this cast is getting further, more and more. It's just the credentials of the people coming into this film and this franchise. I'm like, wow, they are nailing it. They are, not only are they believable within the roles that they're being cast in, and I think that they fit kind of those older legacy actors that filled those positions in the original run of the Hunger Games films. I think they're just going to be phenomenal. I can't wait. So, really awesome casting. I'm really stoked about that. I can't wait for that Sunrise on the Reaping, just because I really did love Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's my favorite Hunger Games movie, and I'm excited to see kind of this new prequel, this new iteration of Hunger Games movies, absent of Katniss Everdeen, PETA, all that stuff, and more looking back at the history of the games. In terms of the Fantastic Four First Steps stuff that we saw this week, the Galactus design looks great. He's not a purple cloud. He has a fucking stupid helmet, which he does in the comics, but I think it looks exactly the way Galactus should look, and I think it looks true to the comics, so I'm excited to see it. The Franklin Richards Funko Pop ad thing is kind of surprising just because it's like, I didn't know that we would necessarily... Like, the trailer outlines and says, oh, wow, you're pregnant, you're late. Wow, okay. I didn't know how... And I don't know how much this movie is going to span in terms of time. Is that baby going to be born? Are we going to see Franklin Richards outside the womb? Like,
Will that baby take their first steps?
So is Franklin Richards the first steps in the title, the first
Who
steps?
knows?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's Galactus' big ass fucking footprint
Maybe
just
it's the first
demolishing a
step.
bunch of New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Just fucking stomping out people. Just like, oh, you're down there? Boom, taxis
First
on the
step,
ground.
boom.
Like, boom, dead.
They're gone.
First step, boom. 5 big booms. You're dead.
Boom! Boom!
Stop.
Love it.
No.
They've, you know what? Go Rizzler. The
No.
other.
No.
No. AJ and Big Justice.
No.
But Rizzler, like he was at the Thunderbolts premiere. Did you see that? He was dressed up as Red Guardian.
Yeah. He was dressed up as Red Guardian, also meeting like the footage of
Entire
him
cast.
meeting the entire cast, but also like you don't know who Julia Louis-Dreyfus is, and you're
Yeah.
just meeting, and like she doesn't know who the fuck you are. Like there's
No.
no chance in hell. So
I love it.
just an interesting interaction. I didn't think we'd talk about the Rizzler at the tail
Yeah.
end of this
You
episode.
can hop
but-
on this podcast if you want some time.
no. Wow, we're just
What?
saying.
You would say no if Rizzler's like, I want.
Honestly, he's definitely more famous than us, so maybe that would boost our fucking viewership. But like, I
If we
don't
had
know.
Rizzler on here sitting right here, you know, that'd be crazy.
Rizzler,
dude.
what's your favorite movie aside from Diary of a Wimpy Kid and
Yeah.
Garfield with Bill Murray? Like, settle down.
Yeah.
Do that again. That was awful. Anyway, what an unhinged long episode as we really dissected Mission Impossible for like an hour and a half there. But thank you for sitting down and having some good old liquor drinks with us. Hopefully you were, because fuck it, we ended with the Rizzler conversation. Why not?
Boom!
No. Be sure to follow us on Instagram. I did post a review for Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, and then this upcoming week I'll likely end up posting a review for Friendship, and more in-depth movie reviews coming forward with Karate Kid, I'm sure, as well as Bring Her Back. We'll also post more movie news. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, follow us on YouTube, watch us on YouTube, tolerate us on YouTube. You get to see our ugly mugs for an extended period of time, which can't be great for you, but if you just want to like put us on in the background, we will appreciate that. In the world of film, it's not just about what happens on screen, but also about who's sitting next to you in the theater.
From Mason and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap.
See you, bitches.